Let's set the stage. Don Lemon Juice decided to interview the wrong guy. Roll the clip.
But it doesn't mean that it is as bad as back in Emmett Till.
Right.
We make
Racist
progress.
people is going to always be with us. There's nothing you can do about that. That's why Jesus Christ suffered, bled, and died for that very same thing. Is because racist people going to walk amongst you. But who really cares about the quiet racist? He's a racist and he's quiet and he don't say nothing about it. He over there. If he not bothering you, he can be racist over there. As long as he don't come and shove it down my throat, I don't care what he is over there, right? He's not affecting me. If he ain't affecting me.
You don't know that.
But
you don't know what that quiet racist is doing. You don't know who he's influencing. You don't know what kids and grandkids he's influencing. You don't know that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
you don't know who he's supporting. Maybe he's sending money to the Klan. You don't know.
But when I'm speaking of quiet, I'm talking about the ones who just keeping it to himself. You know what I'm saying? If he's quiet with it, I agree with what you're saying right there. I agree with that.
Emmanuel.
If he's helping people be racist, that's a problem. And when I'm speaking,
but how do you know that if he's quiet about it? Quiet is kept. You know what quiet is kept is, right?
So Don Lemon Juice he don't want to hear racist folk are gonna dumb folk. Like people act like racism is just the biggest issue. Really, in America today, classism is the biggest problem. The have and have-nots. You pull up to the restaurant in a Ferrari, they gonna treat you different than you pull up in a Toyota Camry. It just by default, people think of you differently. You show up in a suit and tie, and you show up in basketball shorts, same person. You show up with your haircut. No, it ain't haircut. I had to miss my appointment today because I was doing this interview. But you ain't got no haircut. You show up clean shaven. People gonna treat you different. You show up out of shape. You show up in shape. People gonna treat you different. Your mama and them name, your family name is this versus your family name being that. People gonna treat you different. That is more prevalent. You poor, you can't afford to get good, healthy, clean food. You poor, you going to bad schools. You poor, it's probably generations of people being poor. You ain't got nobody passing wealth down to you or nothing. So being poor and living in that environment is more of a contributing factor to success or lack thereof versus the color of your skin. If a person is a racist and they hate black people, but they never do nothing about it, why do we care? People hate on me because they ain't as handsome as me. But if they ain't bothering me, who cares? Let's get to the meat and potatoes. So this interview goes on. I had another video out that I do a little bit more of a review of the interview. And Don Lemon getting smoked in the interview. He looks like a fool. It's not meeting his narrative. So he brings on Godfrey. Put him up on the screen. We're not going to watch it because we're running out of time. But you can just look at him and tell they silly. And then Don Lemon come on his show and he say this, and then I'm going to play the interview. All right, let's listen to what he said because he's silly. Roll the clip.
So yesterday, a man came on the show. His name is Emmanuel. And listen, this is not, look, I'm not trying to disparage him. I'm trying to open up a bigger conversation about this. So yesterday, Emmanuel came on my show claiming that he knows the Wells family. He gave Nolan his first haircut and has been close to the people around this case for years. Now, look, the Wells family says directly that he is not their friend, that he doesn't know Nolan or them like that, and he doesn't speak for them. So, look, Emmanuel wasn't simply offering memories about Nolan. He was presenting himself as someone with perhaps some special access, saying that, you know, I know the dad and all that stuff, someone who knew the family, someone who knew the people involved, someone whose perspective carried weight because of those relationships. The family says it doesn't. Now, look, all of us should stop, right, and think about things before we start accepting anything he says about this case, one, because of what the family says. But let me just say this. I'm not saying everything that Emmanuel said is false. I don't know that. I don't know what form the relationship he has with the family. I don't know that. I know what the family says, and I know what he says. Neither do you. You don't know. Credibility still matters here, though, so that's why I'm pointing this out.
So who's right then?
And credibility around him as well. When you step into the middle of one of the biggest stories in America, invoke a grieving family's name, and speak as though you're carrying their trust, the public doesn't the public, I think, deserves to know whether the family actually agrees. I think that is a fair assessment. And in this case, they don't. That alone, I think, would have made yesterday's interview extremely memorable. And then we started talking about race. And you know how that is.
Yeah, because you race baiting. All right, so here's the thing. I'm going to play the interview. It's a phenomenal interview. I do find it interesting. You'll like what I have to say in the interview. And what I said in the interview starts during the interview, right? So right now I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to start during the interview. I do find it interesting that I haven't talked to Nolan's family. So I don't really know what they're saying behind the scenes about who they know, and I haven't talked to them in detail. It's just interesting that they don't know none of these. They're claiming to not know none of these people, and that they're delegitimizing their experience. And these people are telling me the experiences they've had with Nolan. They're showing me pictures of them. Nolan is hanging out with them. He's at Horn Island with them. He's at their house. They boating, fishing. The boys that I interviewed, all their parents love Nolan. They talk very well of him. They talk about how he's hanging around the family all the time, and they love him. Tracy is telling all these stories about Nolan and him. And then the gentleman, which you're going to see in the interview, Elijah, is telling us all these stories about haircuts, naming family members that he hang out with. He just told me that he just saw Nolan's father. And was that in the interview? I don't want to say it if it wasn't in the interview. At the gym, was that in the interview? Let me, I'm going to back off of that. It may be in the interview. I don't want to say something that we didn't say in the interview. But, it seems to me that the stories that Elijah was telling me seems very genuine, and it seems like he has a connection and know of in a small town. But all of a sudden, he's just making this up, allegedly. Wait till you see the interview, you'll know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get to the interview. We've had people try it, review it, and the feedback has been absolutely amazing. Whether you choose guilty or not guilty, you're getting a premium bourbon with flavor, style, and a brand that stands out. Not Guilty has the smooth sweetness people love, and Guilty brings the bold, classic bourbon character. All you got to do is go to verdictbourbon.com, plead your age, and face the verdict for yourself. You must be 21 and older. Please drink responsibly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that you guys would love to see this interview, highly anticipated. My next guest is a man that I literally watched his interview on a prominent journalist show just the other day, and I said, I like this guy. I agree with everything he's saying. Why is he getting so much pushback? So I had the team go and reach out to him. We were able to find him, and he's going to join me right now on our show. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the show, Emmanuel. He's on social media, Cutting with E. So y'all go follow him. Go check his social media out. But Emmanuel, I had to do it. I had to bring you on the show, man. I felt like you were very fair and impartial and balanced and consistent with people that I've heard when I traveled to Mississippi to talk to. Like, I think the world needs to hear from people that know the family or have connections to the family of Nolan, have connections to some people on the other side, and that live in Mississippi. So I want to start baseline in case people, this is the first time they're seeing you. What is your connection in Mississippi? Like, how long have you lived in Mississippi? And also, what's your connection to Nolan Wells' family, potentially Warren Hudson? Like, what's your connection in this thing?
Okay. I'm born and raised here, man. My folks was military. They came down here to Keesler Air Force Base, and they had me. And I've been here all my life, And my connection to the Wells family and is being a barber. But me and another guy, which is his cousin, me and him went to barber school together. Shout out to Ernest. And so I've always been around the Wells. Me and another Wells, Dex, we eat all the time. We get up, eat all the time. But I met Nolan as a baby. One of my partner's mother was babysitting Nolan when Christine was in nursing school. And so she would babysit him all the time. And he would come to my barbershop, and I gave him his first haircut. And he would be up here with them all the time. and he was just a little cute kid, just like any kid is. And I told Don this yesterday. But one of the funny thing was every time he would leave, we would ask him to say his name. This is when he first started talking, and he would say Nolan Wells. So we would always ask him we would always ask him to say his name, man. But yeah, so and then time went on, and then I started watching him play high school football. You know what I'm saying? And his father got him right. He actually had the right size to be a NFL wide receiver, and that's your background,
Yeah.
a football guy. But I want you to get your question in, but I also want to say something. I don't know if I can say this right
Yeah.
quick, or you got another question.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
But last night I sat in this very chair with an ink pen and my phone in my hand. I went to the gym, and once I left the gym, I was different. I said I wasn't gonna even talk about Nolan anymore, and here's why. It's so much going on around it, Tatum. So much. You don't know what to believe. It's all over the place. And when you start seeing stuff like that, you thinking that they found something, and then everybody's down this path, and then that rug get pulled out from under you. So last night I went to the gym, and of course his father is one of the strongest, muscular man in the world. His whole family's like that. All his uncles play in the NFL, running back and whatnot. But I saw him in there, and we talked.
Mm.
And I'm getting beat up a lot from a lot of people because I keep saying, let's let the evidence come out before we jump to conclusions. We don't know nothing. Just please let the evidence come out. You can't go out punching and fighting nobody or doing bodily harm to nobody. You don't even know who to punch. You don't know nothing right now. And I'm getting a lot of pushback just because I say that. So his father was in agreement with me. Yes, we got to let the evidence come out. But after I walked away from him, we as podcasters, YouTubers, radio personnel, TV personnel, it's our job to talk about this stuff, right? It's the hottest topic in the world, overseas. Now, that's why I said the world. It really is. The BBC everywhere. And when I was talking to him, he was telling me, just pray for me.
Mm.
That's what he said. Just pray for me, man. Now you talking about a muscular, big guy. I mean, he like your size, bro.
Yeah.
Guns. And to see him slowly getting emotional, he said, all I want to know is get justice for my son. What happened to my son? I just want the facts to come out about my son. And when I walked away from him, because it got to a point when we was talking, both of us stopped talking.
Mm.
Because I will fight back tears myself. Because I see what he doing, what he fighting. So I just hugged him and told him I love you. I had to go to the machine. He had to go to his machine. We got to get out of this. And when I walked out of there, I said, you know what? I'm not going to talk about Nolan. I'll talk about things surrounding it.
Mm-hmm.
But those people, we're talking about stuff at their expense. He said to me that he hasn't even been watching social media, TV, nothing. He just want to kind of get away from it, and he just won't. He's tunnel vision. I just want justice for my son. And the other reason, I'm close to the family. I'm here. Like I said, I just went to the gym, and he was in there working out. I've been knowing Christine since she was like in high school. She's been in my barbershop several times. Her and my sister-in-law was good friends. My sister-in-law and her come from the same community. They both half Asian and black.
Mm.
And we're a small town. Everybody know everybody. I've been hanging out with her cousins for many, many years. So I wanted to give them that respect. I don't want to hurt nothing. I'm not trying to do that. I'm constantly, here's what started me down this path. I saw so many people that was upset. And we got to do this and do that, do it. And I was trying to be the voice of reason, saying, let's please wait. Can we please wait? And nobody wanted to wait. And I'm like, y'all don't know what to go do.
Right.
Can we wait for something to come out to find out? You know? And I really do hate Officer Tatum. And I'm gonna tell the viewers something. Everybody, they hard on you. They feel you hate black people. I guess that's how they feel. But I'm gonna tell you something. The man has a genuine heart. Just like all of us, I got a genuine heart. Sometimes things don't come out the way we feel it, but Christine, his mother, I hate that they are internet bombing her. She lost a child in a mysterious manner. Nobody knows, or it hasn't came out yet, what the truth is. Because somebody knows something, it's just we don't know yet.
Right.
So, however she's acting, whatever, she's saying, me personally, I give her grace in that area because she's emotional. She's all over the place right now. Her husband is all over the place. He's emotional. They are still emotional. Man, this is how traumatic can something be? This is very traumatic.
True.
So I wanted to say that on everybody's behalf, and I hope everybody leave her alone. Stop internet bombing her. That's not deserving, because you can feel in the kind of way you want to feel. You don't even have to agree with the people that she's running with, but you got to understand that is a woman who just lost her real child. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And please, people, I'm pleading to you on Officer Tatum's show. This is me to just please cease with that, because you don't know what they're going through and how you can cause them to go further down a rabbit hole with their health. You know, there's mental health involved and a lot of things, you know?
Yeah, man, I'm glad you said that, because, you know, I when you get on the social media and you get going and you get the momentum, in policing we call it operational momentum, which means that once it starts going, it's hard to scale back on it. And I feel what you're saying in a very genuine way, man. And I love that you said this on my show, because I'm gonna make a decision that I'm gonna leave Christine and her husband out of this, because I've been critical of some of the things that they've done. I know she said my name, and I know she's upset with me, which I understand. However, out of respect to the family and respect for you, because I think you're a genuine man, I'm not going to bring up Christine or her husband at all. I'm going to let it go until the results are over and all that. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to make the promise to you and to everybody watching this. I'm going to let it go. Now Benjamin Crump,
I'm on him like right on right.
Right on right, stank on, you know what? He fair game. But Christine, I'll say this. Let me say this. I want this out there. People can clip this if they want to.
Please,
I want to apologize if I offended or hurt Christine. I didn't have any intentions to. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. As a former police officer, I tend to, divorce myself from picking a side or getting too overly emotional for anybody. So sometimes that can come off as insensitive, right? Meaning that I'm looking at an investigation and I take the feelings out of it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going straight for what's the facts, what's this? Mm-hmm. And I want her to know and the family to know that I apologize if something I said hurt them. I have no intentions of doing that. I just really want to get to the bottom of what happened. And what hurt me the most in all of this is I hate the racial division.
Yes.
And I felt like I wish that this would have went a different way. I wish that when this happened to Nolan, because I heard so many great things about this kid. Like he is the cream of the crop as far as young people. Everybody loved Nolan. I haven't heard a person, literally, when I was interviewing Warren and talking to his family, they're tearing up and crying talking about Nolan, on how great of a young man he was. I wish that the conversation could have stayed there. Let's elevate this young man who was great to the community. He's a tremendous loss to the world and everybody that he knows, his coach, everybody. And let's all come together to find out what happened. Let's this side talk to this side, get the information before we put out people that ain't got nothing to do with the business of the family in Mississippi. And so we don't have the division. So that was my whole thing that bothered me, because I see the world dividing again. Now it's black or white all over again.
God. All over again, bro. And I'm going to tell you, here's what's going on, man. And I want people to hear me clearly. With both sides are at odds like this. For people that are not prejudiced, they now coming across as prejudice, because they getting slammed so hard for being prejudiced, and they like, I ain't prejudiced, and then it makes them say stuff and lash back out at you. That's the human side in an individual. So the human side is lashing out and saying some things that they wouldn't ordinarily say. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Bruh, this case is just all over the place, man. But before we go further, I'm glad you did that, and I hope they accept your apology. But you probably saved me here on the Gulf Coast, man, because they've been coming for me, boy.
Man, look,
I did my job, Gulf Coast. I did my job.
Emmanuel, I want people to know that I think you genuine and I'm genuine. I grew up around nothing but black people my whole life, dude. I experienced the black experience from A to B, A to Z, right? I grew up, we had times where we were growing up in poverty or around poverty. My cousin them had roaches in their house. You know, we were smoking weed. I got arrested at 8 years old. You know, my stepdad was a prolific gangbanger. He knew Suge Knight. He was selling dope, you know, doing all that other stuff, man. He died from an OD. He OD'd on heroin. And all of these things I grew up with. My cousins, them going to prison for life. I got a few people that was in prison for life. My other cousin, he getting out. I've been supporting him for I don't know how many years. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I went to Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School in the middle of the hood in Stop 6. I got tats all over me. I got my hood on my forearm. You know, I got Young Savage on my stomach. I got gold teeth in my mouth.
You had it all going on.
I done went from poverty, middle class, poverty. And when I say poverty, my parents weren't poor. We just was in those environments. And then I went to college. I got educated in college. I was a college athlete. I was a police officer. Bro, I have a plethora of experience. University of Arizona.
Okay, all right.
Dude, I have a plethora of experiences. And so I want people to understand that I don't hate black people. I want black people to do better. Because I don't think that what black people are doing now, or the representation of black people, is authentically black people. We never were victims. We weren't victims growing. Like our ancestors were not victims. Our ancestors fought through out of slavery, fought through Jim Crow, and became victorious. And a lot of us wasn't looking for handouts. We're not expecting the white man to do nothing. We built our own schools, our own community. We did all of our own stuff. We weren't looking for nobody else. If you want to be cool, we can be cool. And I felt like, to be honest, even in the civil rights movement, and this is not your opinion, this is mine, even in the civil rights movement, I felt like discrimination in some of these towns, black people doing their thing, white people doing their thing. And I felt like agitators come in and be like for instance, black people probably, and this is just from people that I've talked to, people that live through this, say the same thing to me. In some of these towns where there was segregation, meaning that you can't go to the white places, black people didn't want to go to the white places. They had their own stuff. And they weren't going in their spaces, and white people weren't messing with them, and they were living segregated. And I'm not saying that was the best way to live, but they were doing it. I feel like agitators came in, and they go and sit in the places. And then now they getting problems. And the residents there ain't got beef. They doing their own thing separate. But then people that don't live there come in there and they agitate the situation and they go, look at the racism, and because they had an agenda. And I feel like this is similarly to how Benjamin Crump did in Mississippi. And you can speak to this. I'm gonna give you the mic here in a second. Well, everybody that I've talked to, everybody online that tell me I live out there, we travel to Horn Island, we live out there, and it's not racist. It's very diverse. Everybody's mixed up. Everybody living their life. Racism is not a consistent thing in our community. And I felt like Benjamin Crump came in there, and instead of saying, let's get to the bottom of what happened to Nolan, he want to push this town, we know the history of this, and it just caused these problems to exist that don't exist. I'm gonna pass it to you. What's your experience living there, bro? You live there. We don't. What's your experience?
You know what, officer? Changing people to get them see the truth and to get them to change, it's gonna always be the hardest thing in life. I've been here all my life. All right. You're gonna always have racists that walks among you. Like I tell people, that's why Jesus Christ suffered, bled, and died for us on the cross. Ain't nothing you can do about that. And like I was speaking to Don about, if he acquired races over there and we don't know he prejudiced, how do we know to say that's a prejudiced white man over there? If he quiet with it, he can hate all he want to hate in his heart. That's him. I'm not studying that. As long as he don't come over here and start showing me his prejudiced ways, I'm you can be prejudiced over there.
Yeah.
But what Benjamin Crump did here in this town was old school, and here's what I mean. Let's go back years ago. So when our black women was assaulted, they was abused. Black men was assaulted and abused during slavery. We all know about that. And now you go from there all the way up to the 50s when Emmett Till was killed. Now he's coming into our city saying, you know, this state racist is racist. And it's the state that lynched and killed Emmett Till. That was 71 years ago, sir. 71 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Right. Now, there will always be a racist walking around, or two or three. But as an overall consensus, we don't have that problem. And I'm going to prove it to you. So, Emmett Till looked at a woman and died. She said he whistled. Then later said he didn't. But he looked at her and he died. To nowadays, black men and black women are dating and marrying and having all the freaky fun they want to have with a white person. And a white person is doing the same thing with all the freaky blacks they want to hook up with. Yeah. Right? Yes. So how do we still continue to get judged according to the 1960 style of black justice? Why are we still getting charged to the civil rights that was needed back then? What Al Sharpton doing, that was great for the 60s, but that doesn't work in today's black America. This is the new black America. You have more 25 and under black millionaires than anywhere. You have more black women are the number one college graduates, from my understanding. I could be wrong, but from my understanding, black women are the number one college graduate. So how can you keep coming down here to our state and keep telling us that we're not who we are? White people do try to stay out of black people's way, far as trying to persecute them and stab them and lynch them, and ain't none of that happening. And black people ain't running around pulling out gats, shooting white people, bum, bum, bum. That ain't happening around here, bruh. But you want to know what is happening? White people have been killing whites, and black people have been killing black people. You understand that? We have problems amongst ourselves within our own races. We're not having problems with each other. When I did this, you know what that did? We came together. Blacks and white people are making babies. Officer, I should call you just Tatum. I don't know if you want to call it Officer Tatum.
Call him Tatum. I'm fine with that.
We have so many sandy brown hair babies walking around on this coast, from guys to girls. Everywhere you go, everybody is more mixed than it is pure black, pure white. This mixed thing has came on strong. And I'm even seeing other mixed gumbo cultures. You may see an Asian with a Pakistani. They're not just a typical black and white anymore. I've seen a black girl dating Spanish people now. Because since when Katrina hit down here, I'm sure you're familiar with Katrina and what we went through down here. Well, an influx of Spanish people moved in here. And I'm going to just be honest with you. Even though I'm not for that border being open, the Spanish people that are here, because I buy and sell properties, I'm an investor, they have raised a lot of property value, because when we was growing up, these areas was rental properties. It was low income housing. Now, bro, we was buying houses for 35 grand. And them Spanish people came here and bought the whole neighborhoods up, fixed those houses up. You can tell every house got a new roof, new windows.
Yep.
They have added value from the houses being purchased at 35 grand to selling for 181 now. Wow. Bruh, I'm not gonna lie. I've done well with property. And I told my daddy the other day, I said, whew, I'm so glad these Spanish people moved in this neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
So Emmanuel, I love that you're saying this, because I think the approach and the idea that we're trying to get to is that, you know, that stuff is gone, man. We can't keep rehashing this and reliving it.
This is Mississippi now. Thank you. We can't keep rehashing.
Now, if something happens where we have a clear example that race was a component, let's all come together and address it. Nobody like racist people, whether you black or white. Nobody like that stuff. We ain't got no time for that. Like even the young man that I interviewed, Tristan, he's mixed. Javon, who's another friend that was in that friend group, he mixed.
I talked to him Friday.
And the church that the service was held at, I looked at I criticized Benjamin Crump and them over it, but I looked at the people, the leadership, everybody white, except for one black dude, and he married to a white woman. Yeah. It doesn't appear that none of this is still going on. And so the only reason that you would invoke something like that, which Benjamin don't live in Mississippi, he don't know what he's talking about. And the only reason to invoke that is to get national outrage so that he could raise money, in my opinion, to raise money, to get a payout, to do whatever he needs to do. He does not care. You know, these boys, like the reason that I interviewed him is because when I looked at it, I said, well, wait a minute. Nolan is gone. It's a tragedy. These boys appear to be his friends. If we don't have evidence that they did anything to him, why should they get death threats and get drugged to the mud? I think I look at these boys all as equal. I think Nolan is just as valuable as his friends, unless I have a reason to believe that's not the case. But all of his friends seem to be really good young men. They're all going to college. They seem like they've been raised by good families. So I wanted the young boys to have a voice to tell their side if they didn't have nothing to do with it. Now, if they guilty, I don't think they would have talked to me anyway. But the fact that they showed me evidence of certain things, I said, well, it's fair to get their side out there. What I thought was going to happen, Emmanuel, was I thought that the temperature would drop, because Warren could come out and say, hey, just so you guys know, this is why I had the phone. Just so you guys know, this is why I did call Miss Christine at this time, because I was worried about Nolan. I called the Coast Guard. We went out to search for Nolan. Like, I thought that people would be like, oh, okay, all right. Hey, maybe these kids didn't.
I knew that's what you was doing, because you know what? I did the same thing. That's what happened to me. I started dropping videos hoping that I could say something to calm the temperature down. Dude, I said this several times. I was just trying to do video, and they started catching on. And of course, you see I'm on your show and Don Lemon show, and they had me on Todd Stern talk show the other day. You know, that's what I thought was going to happen, man. I didn't think that it would get worse down here. And I'm going to tell you why it's getting worse. Everybody is so emotional. We live off of our emotions instead of logic. Straight up. And I think that's a lot of our community issue, is living off of emotion. Mm-hmm. No facts on anything. People told me just today, I had a few people tell me today, man, if I was Elmore, I'd go and I'd do this and I'd do that. I said, why? El don't know who to go hit right now. He might have a suspicion or idea, but what, you want him to go to prison now for the rest of his life? And he got kids out here to raise? That's the mentality that's being pushed online. And it's constantly bleeding this sore. It's constantly opening up a cancer, man. And it's getting big and it's snowballing. And here's what I see the biggest problem is. outsiders, people that don't even live here in Mississippi, have injected themselves. They've driven down here 6 and 7 hours. I seen people drive 6 and 7 hours just to come to the funeral, and they said this is history. People have been telling me that. I've talked to two people. Oh, this history here, man. This ain't no game, man. This young man really lost his life. This ain't no. What do you mean? This is history to come drive down here like you are collecting trophies here. You see what I'm saying? Man, this is a problem that I'm trying to prevent a war. They didn't march the Hebrew Israelites down the streets here in Ocean Springs. Okay. Now here's the thing about that. Say they marched. I talked to the police officer, one of the captains, the same day they were down there. He told me, he said, he knew me. He said, we didn't have any problems. He said, the only problem was they did not get a permit to come down here and do it. He said, but they stayed at one spot. They didn't march down the streets. They did what they were supposed to do, and we had zero problem with the Hebrew Israelites. Now, here's the other thing. That opens up the door for the Klan to march down the same street. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So now once they start marching, and then the Hebrew Israelites want to start marching, and all of you spectators from the sideline who's driving in, talking about, yeah, get them, and then shooting start out here, and then your kid get popped in the head. Now your kid died because you want to run down here and be an agitator. And Ben Crump want to run in here and start telling everybody in Mississippi how prejudiced this town is that we've been living in, that ain't nobody that got lynched in Mississippi that we knew for a fact was lynched by a white guy. I know they had one up on the campus, but ain't nothing come out of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We never find out who killed him.
Yeah, Emmanuel, I just wish that this could have been different. You know, and when I went down there, I was really hoping that why can't the families come together and talk? The thing that surprised me, because I thought no effort was made on either side. I was like, okay, I guess these people they got beef or something. But then when I went down there, I saw that Warren's stepmother reached out. Warren had a couple phone calls. Some of the other parents reached out. And I just wish that Benjamin Crump would have given advice as a responsible person that is acting in good faith to say, hey, let's communicate with their lawyers, because we're not going to get their testimony from the police until the police is finished with the investigation. This could be months later. How about we go lawyer to lawyer? Let's talk through this and figure out, what do you know, what do we know, so we can get to the bottom of what could have happened. Because based on my research and the interviews I've done, Warren and the rest of these kids weren't there. They were gone on a boat. They showed me Life 360, GPS tracking. They had witness testimony. Their girl Katie, I seen her text message where she said that Nolan didn't get back on the boat. Like, so all this is showing me that these young men that were initially accused were gone. And there were people who saw Nolan afterwards. And I want us to focus on those people. You know what I'm saying? Like, who saw him then? Let's talk to these people, because we're going in this direction with these young people that said that they already talked to the cops. They showed me all this stuff. It appears that they did leave, and we need to be focusing on somebody else. Either, unfortunately, he may have drowned or something happened, but there's other people out here that I feel like is not even being questioned, because all the attention is on these people. And I wish that the two families would come together and say, what do you know, what do you know, what do you know, and not get into a situation where it's a race war. And now you got people, and you said this, and you were right on point. And you said people are afraid that Benjamin is not going to get no help out here because people are afraid. And what I was told was that there may be people that seen and know more, but they don't want to run the risk of saying, I saw him last, even though I didn't do nothing, I didn't have nothing to do with it, because then they may end up getting death threats and saying that they in some conspiracy. So that's not, you didn't do the family right by doing this.
No, I truly believe, and I said this on Don's show yesterday, and I mentioned it last night, and I said I believe that Crump, if they could do over and they really wanted to look for justice, they would do things differently. I think their approach was wrong, and you're now alienating people that you need to help you on that island. But if they don't feel they're gonna get treated right, gonna get called racist and possibly shot and stabbed,
Yeah.
they not coming forward. Because guess what? One of the guys told me, was it last Monday for last? He gave me an extra name that nobody has ever said. But he did. He was very influential in getting those people named to the police. It was one woman, it was a girl and a guy, and he said that they were the last two that was seen with Nolan on the island. And
Yep.
when he found that out, and this was a black guy, this was his friend that is a black guy. When he found that out, he convinced the guy that found that out to go to the police. And they went to the police with that information. Now, I don't know where that lead went to, but you're right. It was other people
Yep.
that name is or surrounded in a suspicious manner or whatever you might want to call it.
The boys told me a long time ago, back when I did this interview. They gave me a log of who was there, they showed me a lot of this stuff. Now, some of the stuff I didn't want to put to the public, but that the police officers knew about. Because what I didn't want to do is put people's name out there and then not be true, or they get slandered and I get sued over it. So
everybody's in sue mode right now, bro.
Huh?
Everybody's in sue mode down here right now.
I know, man. And, hey, it's gonna be some cross exchanges, man. That's gonna go on, and it never really had to happen this way. And I'm hoping that
it didn't have to happen this way.
I'm
on
hoping
both
everybody,
sides.
yeah, I'm hoping everybody kind of calm down and start communicating with each other. There's really no reason to not communicate at this point, or they can just put the guns down. You know, like you talking about suing them group, they finna sue y'all, and it's gonna be back and forth. Or y'all can just look at each other and say, let's just chill out on this, because I'm afraid of this, Emmanuel, and then I know we got to wrap. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid that this scenario has been built up so heavily that when the results come out and it's not what people want it to be, meaning that it's racially and it's some crazy thing, they're not going to accept it. And it's going to be rioting. It's going to be turmoil.
I have said that so many times, bro. I said the problem is nobody's going to accept from either side whatever the outcome is. That's why I even said I don't even want to see the state's autopsy, because the parents most likely is not going to accept whatever they come up with. Let's see what the independent autopsy says. Well, the independent autopsy left us in awe. Worse than it was to me. It was worse than before we got the facts from the independent autopsy, because now you have left the world in limbo. You have left the parents in limbo. That told us zero, nothing. And then you say, okay, well, why the throat wasn't there and why this wasn't there? Well, you find out that's kind of typical in autopsy, which that's what they told me. But who they know, I don't know. But I'm gonna ask myself a question that I've been asked by everybody, because everybody want to know, what do I think happened? I know Sheriff Ledbetter. I met him through our congressman Mike Ezell. He was a sheriff. I don't know if you've seen a video I cut in Mike Ezell's hair. I've been knowing him for a while. They asked me, well, do you think he would cover up? Like I told him, the man is a human being. He's flawed. He's not Jesus Christ. Yeah. I don't know what he'll do. So I would be crazy to just come out and say, no, he wouldn't do it. But here's what I'm going to say. As a person that know him, I don't think if he see foul play, I believe he's going to make an arrest.
Yes.
Number one, a case that's this high profile, it only boosts their career. He could literally run for governor off of this case.
Yeah.
If they solve it. You know what I'm saying? The FBI is involved. I just believe the FBI is willing to arrest the sitting judge. That will give them more money. And people next me, do I think it's foul play? And as a person that has a platform, you just can't come out and say your total opinion. Like, it's some things that I knew about that I have never once shared still to this day, because I don't think it's going to help anybody to know it. I don't think it's going to help the case. You know what I'm saying? The authorities know about it anyway, but I don't see the need to put it out to the public. some things don't add up. It's a lot of things that do not add up in this case. It is a lot of things that do not. I have a lot of friends that go to that island. A lot of people talk about the big drop-offs. I had a friend out there this Sunday, dude, and they found his body. He didn't even know what was going on. He was just out there fishing with a friend. He like, that was going on the other side. We didn't even know it till we got back to shore. But he was telling me about, man, there's some big drop-offs out there. Could that have happened? Yes. But here's the one thing I got. Now, I heard you speaking on it, and I checked into it a little bit. That woman that pulled up the background noise talking, Janetta, or whatever her name might be, I can't remember. But Tatum, if that is true, it's a lot of people got a problem. And here's what I mean by that. She's not from here, so she don't know anybody's name. But yet she said Bart, and it was a Bart out there. So it might be a little credence to what that woman found on that tape. And
well, let me, Emmanuel, let me throw this in here because I saw they sent me a video of that interaction, and it leads two things. It leads me to believe that there's no credence to that tape because I think people are experiencing confirmation bias. When you do that and you put a transcript there, you are telling people what they need to hear. If she just put it out with no transcript and say, "What are you hearing this?" Listen, I don't think people will hear that because, and let me tell you why. Two people have come out and said they've seen Nolan after the boat left. They sent me a video that I have in my possession right now that shows the boat while it's getting towed with Wyatt on the phone. I don't want to implicate some people. I cannot confirm or deny people were drunk. Okay, I cannot confirm or not people were drunk off on their boat. And so now it makes sense to me of all that noise in the background. I'll add this. People were having so much fun that people on Bart's boat, because I can see it, it pans Bart boat, everybody on Bart boat all the way through. Everybody was on Wyatt's boat. Everybody. Nolan is nowhere. Nolan is nowhere there, and even if, like, the stuff that they're claiming that they're saying, I just can't. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. But it doesn't appear that was consistent. It's a bunch of kids on that boat talking all kind of crazy, and they're having a good time. And some kids on Bart boat don't even know that the other boat is having issues, and they're laughing and joking about it. Like, is that what? So it's not even a pandemonium situation on that boat, like it sounds in that video. What I think they're hearing is a bunch of people having a good time, loud, yelling at stuff, calling out stuff, delusional. They don't know if it's sinking. They think they playing. People trying to get from one boat onto the other boat, yelling. And that's what when I see the video, and I'll show you the video. I just can't put it in public because there's people's faces on it. But when I see the video, I see Wyatt on the phone, and then the two witnesses said that they saw Nolan afterwards, at around 6, which would be like an hour and a half after this happened. It lead me to believe that maybe what she put out there was not as genuine. But I'm gonna let you finish, and then we got to wrap. So I want to make sure you get your point out because I think I kind of jumped in. What were you saying about like your feelings on that topic?
Okay, I'm gonna say this, but I heard, to piggyback off something you just said about people, because she had put the words up there, it can tell a person what to think about that. But I heard one guy saying, "Look at him. He's standing over a body with blood on side of the boat." And I'm like, how do you see blood on side of the boat? Bruh, when I tell you this story is so big and so wild, everybody's talking about it and coming up with their own stuff. But if that video that she did isn't true, I don't have no other evidence or anything. Nobody else is saying anything. But I will say it's some suspicious behaviors around it, because here's what I was trying to tell people. They were like, well, the sheriff did this, and the sheriff came out and said it wasn't no foul play. Well, from my understanding, at the initial time they found his body, the sheriff, they only reported on what they thought they saw was a drowning. And people, y'all have to give credence to that and understand it. They thought it was a drowning. So they come back and say, hey, it was a drowning. But it wasn't until Christine started calling around. This is how I got it. Start calling around saying, hey, what happened to my son? What happened to my son? What happened to my son? And now mom is the word. Everybody then went quiet on her. And then she started hearing people lawyered up, people driving off, his cell phone deal, that got wiped, they saying, the car keys, the car. It was so much around it that created a suspicion to the father and the mother, which is understandable. And now the sheriff had already put out his statement hours prior, a day prior. So now it's like, uh-oh, we're in a rock and a hard place. Who walks what back? And now it's all messed up. And now you got Crump coming in, this big machine, because he has a machine behind him. And right now he's just pulling Christine them along, taking them all over on his tour and doing whatever they doing. And I don't even think that she did have no clue what was all entailed and involved in this stuff. Because it ain't like her son dying every day. You know, you signing on to somebody you think can possibly give you some answers and some help. That's all she was doing with him, but she didn't know what she was dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that regime is a machine.
I agree to that, and my initial thoughts was that too. I just worry that he comes in on these families who are struggling and they want answers and they're dealing with a lot, and he comes in and say, "We're gonna get you answers," and that makes a family feel like, all right, somebody gonna make sure that my son don't go invisible on this thing. Right. But he got another agenda. Like in my opinion, he gets. I would like to know. This is what I would like to know. How much money is he getting paid in this thing? Because the GoFundMe is X. He ain't doing it for free. How much money what percentage is he taking off of GoFundMe? How much percentage is he taking off of doing the autopsy? You got to think it's like a business. I'm sure he's marking it up. I'm sure he's telling the family, well, this is how much it costs for the autopsy. I guess Colin Kaepernick paid for it, and the funeral was paid for. Well, then the GoFundMe money, is that going to go all to the family? Or did Benjamin Crump get some of that? And that's what I worry is like, is his motivation to get it as big as possible to go around the world and get a bunch of money in, and he's like, oh, I'll charge you 40% to do all this for you.
I do think information and things were suppressed to keep building attention and attraction and funds. Some things that did not could have possibly been ruled out, like the Cajun Marine says, hey, we said we got a cadaver dog right there in Pascagoula. That's Jackson County. We all stay here in Jackson County. We right there. We can bring him over. And according to them, they said Crump told him he didn't want that. Now, I don't know. I just heard what he said to Nancy Grace. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I don't know why you would not want this dog to run through this boat to see if his body was there, because that would eliminate that argument and that conversation to the world. You know what I'm saying? And to the parents' mind that, hey, your son was not on this boat. We need to continue to search for him on this island. To me, people ain't doing their job, bro.
Yeah, I think, Emmanuel, I think they have a vested interest to not do their job. Yeah. I mean, because like at the very beginning, when that video came out of Tristan getting into that fight, but they thought it was Nolan, and the video comes out, the coach said, I knew that right away that wasn't Nolan. I know his voice, that wasn't Nolan. Why is Benjamin still pushing that out to the media? They could have talked to the other family. They could have talked to Tristan and been like, and Tristan was like, no, that was me. That wasn't Nolan. So that should have never went to the public. Now, I'm not blaming the family at all. I'm saying Benjamin should know better to tell them, no, don't put that out there. Because I find it interesting that Benjamin is not acknowledging that phone call. Remember the Cito call that you were talking about? He hasn't acknowledged and pushed that and said that at all. And I think the reason why is because he know that may not be, he need to get an expert to look into that instead of going with that girl, because that may not be a real thing.
One question I was going to ask you was, how many cases are you familiar with that Ben Crump has won in these civil rights lawsuits? Do you know any?
Here's the thing, that this is my opinion, and I've been covering Benjamin Crump. I have such a negative perception of him. And all of these cases, from Breonna Taylor to Trayvon Martin to Michael Brown to Eric Garner to Tamir Rice to any one of these people, nothing happens on the criminal side. It's all money and payouts. And I know he's a civil rights attorney, but he's given the inference that his involvement is going to cause people to do what's right by law, and people are going to get justice. But really, they're getting payouts because Michael Brown never had his hands up, and that was justified use of force by police.
Yes,
he went into it lying to people, and but
threw that guy
still
around all in the gas station.
Right, he still got $16 million payout. You know, Trayvon Martin was a tragedy. I still think Zimmerman should have went to jail, but the jury made the right decision based on the information they had. It was those gaps that you can't go beyond a reasonable doubt to cover. So in a situation where reasonable doubt is afoot, it's a big burden when you have a gap where you don't know what happened. And so that was an unfortunate situation. Again, Zimmerman got off on that. But
yes, he did.
Then you go on to all the other ones. You know, Eric Garner. I think that was a justified use of force against Eric Garner. But Benjamin Crump at this point, with all this experience, should know you ain't gonna win in court. He should tell the family that this appears to be a justified situation. You're not gonna win in court because of these elements. If I was advising families, I would tell them, you're not gonna win in court. This is what we're pursuing. But Benjamin Crump, in my opinion, is giving people false hope and saying, this is gonna happen. We're gonna get justice for that cop executed, like he's doing right now with Corey Ruiz or something like that. That guy, he said Benjamin Crump is out here saying he was executed. And I don't necessarily think that that's the case. And I don't know how the case is going to go. But the guy had a knife, and he did allegedly stab one of the officers while they were getting into the confrontation. And even if you can't see it as clear, there's going to be a burden of proof in the court of law that they have to overcome, that beyond a reasonable doubt that the officer did not act appropriately. And Benjamin knows that it's not going to go the way of legal, but he's going to try to get them a wrongful death payout through the police department, whether the cop gets off or not. And that's the problem I have. But I got to run, man. I got to
I'm going to say this to you right quick before you leave. So I want to talk to Black America right quick. To me, we chase a lot of the wrong cases that we could, like those cases you just said. You really can't win some of those cases. But in that case out in the Florida A&M football player, I believe his name was Jonathan Farrell. He died, got shot, killed by the police out there in Carolina going back home at like 1 a.m. He had a car wreck, and he had to bust the back of the window out, climbed out, started walking to a neighbor's house, knocked on the door. The lady opened the door, and she thought it was her husband that was coming in from work, so she didn't look. She just opened it. And when she turned around, it was this bloody black man standing at the door. So she screamed, hollered, called the police. He went back walking down the street. No problem, I'm gone. Well, it was 3 policemen out there. One was a black cop, and the white cop just pulled up and got out his gun, put the infrared dot on his chest, and he looked down and saw it and took off running. Cop shot and killed him. So why ain't black people up in arms about that? That was a cold-blooded, point-blank murder. But ain't nobody saying nothing about that. Ain't nobody talking about it. His death didn't just disappear. Ain't no money been given to the family. But that was one that black people should have been parading up and down in the street up for. Ben Crump, you're right there in Florida, where Florida State is located at. You are there. That's where Florida A&M is located, right beside Florida State University. That's where Ben lives. Now, why ain't you down there doing that? That's one that you could have stood on.
Because I believe this is what I think he's doing. Like, you know, in the social media world, in the marketing world, you see opportunities of money, and you could tell if something's going to go viral or something's going to be a good hit. And I think that he can't go everywhere. So he's going where he think he can get the most real estate out of, right? He's looking at it like people would look at stories to cover. They're like, oh my God, this is a big story. I need to get on it, right? And he's looking at it like, black kid, because you already had the young man in Houston, or what was it? I think it was somewhere in Texas, Irving, that he drowned, and them boys threw his phone over and tried to hide evidence. Right. He had Irving, and he knew, well, I could piggyback. It's in Mississippi. I can push the race claim. I can invoke Emmett Till. I got a lot of real estate here. The guy who got killed in Madison, he looked at the video. He go, oh, I'm piggybacking my momentum off of Nolan's situation. I can jump right over to Madison, push that again, say the same talking points, and I think I can get a lot of real estate. Because if he think he can go and get a case that's going to do a wrongful death payout, I want to know how much money he get in a wrongful death payout. Then, therefore, I can honestly evaluate, okay, that's why he took that case. There's $700 million payout. He got cases on his record that got almost $1 billion payouts. And I know his firm has to be taking some money to get you that much money in the payout.
Oh, of course.
And it makes me wonder, it's like, okay, yeah, the smaller stuff that we see, young boys getting killed every day. We don't know who did it. Nobody's snitching. Nobody's talking. You got, like you said, the situation that you have there. Some of these other situations where it's obvious wrongdoing by police.
Yes.
Why he not out talking about these? It's because there's no real estate there. But anyway, I got to get my haircut. Okay. And I think you know a lot about haircuts. So.
Yeah, man. Hey, brother. Hey, I'm glad you had me on your show, man. That's what's up, man. I appreciate you, bro. You know, I've been watching for a long time, man. So, hey, it was good. We finally were able to hook up, man. And
Emmanuel, we got to do a part 2, man, because I would love to talk about a little bit more of your thoughts on a lemon lime show. But we'll get to that another time. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on. Y'all go and follow Emmanuel at Cutting with E on social media. We out of here.